What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel for another exciting episode of Hunting the Fish podcast. Before we get into today's location, I decided that I was going to actually walk around the area today. Even though it is a little bit hot out, I'm pretty sure I can handle it. I got myself 2 bottles of water, only one of which I'm actually going to bring with me. And I'm actually going to walk over to the creek and I will fill this one up with some cold water, just so I have something to drink while I'm out on my adventure. The video that we are doing today probably won't be a short one, even though there isn't much to talk about the area. But because of the fact that I do plan on walking around, it's probably going to be a longer video than normal. So with that being said, I'm actually going to jump out of my car real quick. Excuse me. And we will start said video. Today's location has brought me to the very small, very unpopulated village of Nichols, located in the town of Nichols in Tioga County. This is the second of my Tioga County series, and I'm not sure why I chose this area to do next, but it was just something I picked randomly out of the blue, and I feel pretty confident that, you know, I can give you guys a stellar video with what resources that I have. The village of Nichols is small. And when I say small, I don't mean like microscopic, although it might as well be, but it is small. And the village of Nichols, as of the 2020 census, only had a population of 457. And by me saying that it's small, I mean it really is small. It only has an area of less than it's literally less than a square mile. I think it's like 0.56 square miles long, or like in size. But what's fascinating about the village of Nichols is the fact that there lies so much history here that it's not even funny. History, obviously, that we'll talk about throughout the video, and history that I'm actually, well, I can't say I'm still learning about, because I've pretty much spent enough time down here in Nichols to, pretty much write its own autobiography. But we'll get to that very shortly. I gotta find a path down here to the creek so I can fill up my bottle of water. So I got some high quality H2O. Doesn't look like there's actually an area to walk down. So I'm just gonna have to go. Hoping to God I don't slip and fall. Alright. Now comes the treacherous climb back up the side. Got my bottle of water. creek-filled water. Unfortunately, because of the extreme temperatures that we've had to endure over the summer, it is not very cold, but that's okay. As long as I got myself some water, we shall suffice. So the village of Nichols, as I mentioned, is pretty much the smallest of small when it comes to villages. It's almost on par with the village of Deposit, but I think the village of Deposit is just a tad bit bigger. The area was named after one of its founders, or not a founder, but a benefactor, I think he was, by the name of Colonel Nichols. And the village was called Corners, and then it was called another name, and then it was renamed Nichols after the creation of Tioga County. I think it was all the way back in like the 1700s, 1783, I think it said. The location that I am starting this adventure from is the very, very historic Kirby Park. Now, to give you a little bit of context, Kirby Park is a very special place to me because I discovered it by accident. Back when my son was very little, I decided to bring him to a park, and I found this beautiful gem. And as he grew up, I continued to bring him here, and hopefully in the years following, I will continue to bring him here as he grows up. Now, I mentioned a couple minutes ago that Kirby Park, or I mentioned that Nichols as a village has a ton of history in it. And another reason why I picked Kirby Park, of all places, to do my video is because Kirby Park is one of the most historic places in the village. One of 7 that we are going to cover. Now, the reason why Kirby Park is a historic place is because Kirby Park, as noted by this stone here, is named of Alan B. Kirby, who was the leader of the Kirby Band, his namesake, for 70 years. And I feel that that is extremely beautiful, because when you have a person that has that much of an impact on an area that you decide to name a park after them, that is how you know that you have cemented your legacy in history. I'm going to show you guys what the park looks like. We got the bandstand here that sometimes has live events. Over here we have the Kirby Park Pavilion. We have the sensory playground. And of course, we have the enormous parking lot. And we also have the basketball court, the baseball fields. And we have actually a walking trail that I am standing on that spans the entire length of the park. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, when I went down to grab my water, there is creek access in several parts of the park on both ends. The end I'm standing on and the empty field across the street here that is also used as a soccer field. Now, before I get too ahead of myself, the soccer field was not always empty, but we will get to that reason very shortly. Now, Kirby Park, as I mentioned, has an enormous walking trail that pretty much spans the entirety of the park. When I played it religiously, would come out here on the nicer days, and I would play Pogo. Pokemon Go, for those of you who don't know it, And I would basically do anywhere from 5 to 25 laps just around the walking trail, walking around Kirby Park, hitting gyms, catching Pokemon, doing raid battles, you know, whatever enticed me to be out here. I absolutely love it here. Being as, you know, I am a parent, I guess you could say it, put it this way. I have grown accustomed to going to parks again. Obviously, because it's really weird for a 32-year-old to go to a park by himself unless he's actually doing something. Nowadays, because of laws and everything that happens in the news, it's kind of frowned upon. But as long as you're not doing anything, people don't necessarily bother you. I enjoy coming out here to Kirby Park just because of the fact that Nichols, the village, is basically country. I can't say it's as country could get, but it is pretty country. As I mentioned, the village itself is less than a mile, less than a square mile long. It's like half a square mile. There's not really a lot to do out here, recreational wise, or anything wise, to be perfectly honest with you. Obviously we'll cover all of that when we start walking around and talking about some of the sites and stuff. And, you know, there's just no need. I can't say there's no need, because obviously Nichols was a thing long before, it was a place long before anything actually came about. And the fact that Nichols is a place means that it will always be a place, unless our government decides that they want to integrate Nichols into something bigger, which we're actually going to talk about very shortly, again, once we get started with the video. As I mentioned, recreationally and entertainmentally, there's not much, well, I'll just come right out and say it, there isn't anything to do out here. I mean, you've got Kirby Park, as I mentioned, that sometimes has events and stuff. Obviously, if you're a Pokemon Go player, there's that to do. There is, if you're a parent, obviously there's the park that you can take your kids to when they're not in school. And there is also the, you know, there's very small things that you can do around the village. Not as much as Owego, obviously, but you get the gist. So as we start our journey, we're actually going to skip right to the part where I tell you guys a little bit about the area that is known as the Village of Nichols. And I'm going to let you guys know, like I said, there's not a lot out here. The village basically has one very small grocery store, if you want to call it that. Or should I say a place to get your stuff, as I refer to them as. Because these places aren't exactly, they're not exactly grocery stores, but they're not exactly either convenience stores. So that brings us to our first look, the Nichols. Let me get out of the trees here. The Nichols Dollar General. As far as I know, Dollar General has been here for quite a few years, And aside from the gas station that is about a mile, well, about a half mile up the road, which we may or may not get to, depending on how tired and how quickly I get tired. The Dollar General has been here for quite some time. And if it wasn't for this Dollar General, I don't think the residents of Nichols, of the village, would really have anywhere to go to do their shopping, other than go to Waverly or Sayre, which isn't actually that far. Neither one is actually that far. Or go back to Owego and go to the Price Chopper. Not a bad idea if you, if you feel like coming back to a more populated area. We are currently walking down, I don't even know the name of this street. Probably a good thing. There's a little dog barking at me. That is very cute. Hello. Hello. Is that you saying hi? Yes, hello to you too. I'm walking down the first street, down by the said Dollar General. And a lot of these houses that are down here, you can tell just by looking at them that they have a lot of history. I mean, there's a house, I'll show you guys over here, that is pretty desolate. Was probably home of an old settler in the area back in the 1800s, and wasn't ever converted into a living space. I mean, it kind of looks pretty old, to say the least. Coming up here on my left, I'll give you a little bit of a history. I'll show you this place, and then I'll actually give you a history lesson. Over here behind me is the former Nichols High School, which has been transformed, I think about 20 some years ago, into the Nichols Schoolhouse Apartments. Now, as I've mentioned in a lot of my previous videos, New York State has the authority. They are about the only place in the area that has this authority. But they have the authority to turn old schools and schoolhouses into, we'll say, another functioning development at their leisure, depending on the needs of the area. In previous videos, I've talked about Endicott, I've talked about Endwell, Johnson City, Binghamton, various places like that, Shenango Forks and whatnot, turning their old school buildings, I guess you could say, the old schoolhouses, the old schools, this, that, and the third, into dwellings of some kind. A lot of them get turned into apartment complexes. A lot of them just get turned into apartments. Some of them have been turned into community centers, and so on and so forth. With that being said, apparently I'm on Caddy Ave, which is actually another historic location that we will get to very momentarily. The Nichols Schoolhouse has an amazing bit of history, and it's one of the things that I've started to cover in several of my previous videos. I've tried to cover in all of them, but I've always gotten sidetracked and just started talking. The Nichols Schoolhouse, formerly the Nichols High School, was obviously the school district of the village of Nichols. And when it was decommissioned as a school, all of the residents in the village of Nichols were sent to Tioga Center. and the two school districts were merged. So all the kids that live here in Nichols go across the river to the Tioga Center School. And, you know, obviously the kids in Tioga Center go to Tioga Center because they live right there. But we'll keep that for, you know, another video if I decide to cover that area. Now, Nichols, the village, is by no means short, as I mentioned, on historical houses. And it definitely isn't short on houses in general. I believe there is actually more actual houses here in the village of Nichols than there is apartments. I'm pretty sure there's only like, aside from the schoolhouse, there's maybe like 2 or 3 apartments, you know, just around the area. But other than that, everything is houses, which, you know, for the area kind of makes sense because you don't really need apartments in an area that is already small, especially for the very low population that is in the area as well. I will tell you, and I mean this with all honesty, walking down this first street in the village of Nichols, I'm looking at a lot of these houses, and the only thing I can say about them is beautiful. As old as some of these houses are, being as some of them were built in the 17, 18, and early 1900s, they still look beautiful. I mean, I can't say that they all look like they were just built yesterday, but a lot of them do look like they have been well taken care of. And I mean well taken care of. There's a lot of them that don't even show like any kind of decay or discrepancy, or what's the other word that I was going to use? Any kind of mismanagement. All of these houses just look like they're very, very, very well taken care of. Most of the area is, I guess you could say, pretty much, you know, older people. There are a few kids that live around here, you know, which is amazing, just because, you know, you need that happy medium of older kids older people and younger kids, just to have that perfect balance. Just because if you don't, then, you know, it might as well just be a retirement community, which I know plenty of. And I don't see Nichols as one of those places, thank Jesus. I do want to show you guys this place over here. This one over here recently did not look like that. It was actually all white, pretty much falling apart, and was in need of fixing. But since the last time I was out here, they've done quite a bit to fix it up. They look like they're painting the side of the house. They've painted the door. They've redone the front porch. It looks like they're still actually working on it. I would not be surprised if within the next couple of years or so that it is listed on the market, if it already hasn't been listed and sold. But yeah, I like seeing old places when they get to that point where they're deemed old. I like them being seen as being restored, because that means not only are you preserving the history of the place, but you're also creating an opportunity for potential home buyers and future future scholars of the area, I guess you could say. Look down Dean Street and the other end of Platt Ave. As you can see in the distance, that house right there, absolutely beautiful. I love that style house. If I could afford it, I would own that house tomorrow, but alas, I cannot. I just love everything about it. I love the pillar design. I love the area of it. I love the size of it. I love the colors. I love the attention to detail. And I love the fact that even over the years, it's been kept to looking very, very presentable. As a realtor, I would definitely show off that house, and I would be very proud to advertise that house to anybody who would want it. Such as the case with a lot of these houses in this area. As I mentioned, a lot of them, you don't see signs of decay, mistreatment, anything like that. You definitely do not see that. And that is what's amazing about this area. Being as it's so small and not very populated, these houses look exquisite. If I didn't have such a disdain, well, not necessarily disdain, but I'm not willing to go to send my kid to the Tioga School District. But if I wasn't looking to do that, I would totally move out here in a heartbeat. Just because of the fact that it's quiet, like I said, it's well kept. It's it's small, and you don't get that in very few places. Which is another reason why I like being in Owego, because Owego is small. There's a lot more to do, and there is a lot more area, especially when you get into the town of Owego and you realize that just because you're in the village doesn't mean you have to stay there. Like I said, a lot of these places, a lot of these people, I should say, are, they live in the area, and a lot of them have lived here for quite a few years, decades, generations upon generations probably. The shits. So I want to show you guys real quick. This road back here, right behind me, is South 282. Now, it might surprise you to know that Nichols is very, very close to the Pennsylvania border. I believe it's probably like 2 or 3, maybe a little more than that, miles from where I'm standing. I'm actually on Main Street, which is very ironic because this is the main street in Nichols. And it's actually it's a nice drive. I personally have driven out here several times, just out on a drive, not to actually go anywhere in general. I think not too long ago, I actually drove out to Pennsylvania and I found myself lost, I think. But, it's nice. Like I said, it's quiet, it's, small, convenient. And speaking of convenience, I'm not actually going to go all the way up there, but I do want to tell you guys, currently where I'm standing, if you look over to the left, we have the Nichols American Legion, the Wright Edsall Post 1624, and we also have the Sutphin Funeral Chapel, which is pretty nice for an area to have a funeral chapel and an American Legion. But what I really want to show you guys is the road, the hill. Now, before I tell you about this road, I want to let you know, I don't know what's at the end of this road. I do know that this particular street, which starts out as Taylor Street, does not stay Taylor Street. It actually goes up around the corner and it turns into Roki Boulevard. I'm pretty sure Roki Boulevard just goes up on the hill and then it dead ends at the end of the golf course. Yes, there's a golf course up there. What I do want to tell you about is the amazing building that is sitting in the middle of the hill. I mentioned a couple seconds ago about the golf course, and the golf course is actually on property that once upon a time was the site of the Nichols Elementary School. Now, the Nichols Elementary School, I have been inside several times because the Nichols Elementary School used to be, up until very recently, used to be the site of the Tompkins, Tioga County Catholic Charities, which if you live in Owego, Nichols, Lounsbury, wherever, that would be the Catholic Charities that you came to if you ever needed assistance, which we have plenty of times for like food and clothing and diapers and stuff like that. Hopefully, if we get down that far, I will show you guys their new location. And I think they just moved there. I want to say it was like a month ago, and they had their grand opening about 3 weeks ago. So congratulations to them for their move. And the only question that I have now is what's going to become of the building. Obviously, being as it's an old elementary school, it still has all the classrooms in it, which was fascinating because if you walked in there, obviously you saw all of the Catholic Charities stuff. You had the Nichols Town Court in there. You actually had a training area for the Tioga Downs Players Club, which if you get hired by at Tioga Downs, you will be sent there, for your training and stuff. But now that Catholic Charities isn't there, are they going to, open up the classroom to other things? Are they going to close the town court and the other places and, turn the building into apartments just like they did the old schoolhouse, or what? Honestly, it remains to be seen, I guess. Continuing my walk down Main Street, I want to point out a very unique building that's the street. This building over here, let me zoom out my camera, looks like it used to be an old general store. And the only reason that I say that is because if you look at this building right here, you can't tell me that that's a house. Because for one, I would not have that many windows in my house. For two, just the way that the porch is built and the way that the windows are set up screams department store or like a grocery store back in the day or something. So that right there is another piece of history. Very, very beautiful building. I love the painting on it. I wish something was being done with it. Maybe it will be turned into a house at some point. Maybe it won't be. Maybe it'll just be listed, as a historical site in the future. Or like so many other places, maybe it'll just sit vacant. We have an exquisite blue house behind me. I love the coloring of that. That's like a turquoise sky blue, but it is beautiful. I'm pretty sure that is an apartment. May or may not be. Who knows? Let's see. Continuing my walk. This looks like another house, I think. May or may not be another apartment. I'm not sure. It says 160, so maybe it's just a really big house. As I mentioned, you know, Nichols seems to have a lot of those. This building here, however, is not a house. I believe this is the rectory for the next door Presbyterian Church, which is very, very fancy, because for a place as small as Nichols, I mean, you'd expect at least one church, but I'm pretty sure there is two. I don't know where the other one is off the top of my head, but I'm sure we'll find it in our travel summer. Is the sign. It says Presbyterian Church services began in 1829. First Presbyterian Society of Nichols incorporated in 1859. Present building constructed in 1865 to 1866. So this building was built, I would say, almost 200 years ago. I think it's like 100 something, a little less than 180 years ago. Beautiful building. I love the architecture. They have a little bench right out where passerbys can come and sit and relax. And obviously they got the grand steeple. Not sure if they have a bell up there, but I honestly don't think they do, because their steeple is enclosed. Oh wait, yes they do. Might be at the top, but I don't know. Still a nice church though. Very nice. Let's see, we got a couple more houses. Again, fascinating architecture with every single one of them. It's very amazing to look at, just because, you know, you look and you see an old place and you're like, oh my God, this looks great. And it really does. It really does, just because. Again, we have the Kirby Street, which I believe is somewhere down that street is actually the home of the man I mentioned earlier, Alan Kirby, the leader of the Kirby band. I believe his old house is down here somewhere. Now, I want to point something out to you guys. I did this in a couple of the videos that I did way back, but I'm going to do it again in this video just because of the historical significance. Now, back in the day when they built, they usually had a namesake put on top of them. This one says Taylor 1895. I'm not sure what it signifies, but looking at this place, oh, it's William Taylor. I'm not sure what it signifies, but I'm pretty sure that this place was the home of William Taylor, whoever that is, and it was built in 1895. It looks like it could have been a store at some point as well. That sounds like a trip to the Tioga County Historical Society at some point. You know, just to do some research and explore history. Now, earlier, actually, a couple minutes ago, I mentioned that there was actually two churches in in the area of Nichols, and I actually found the second one. I told you there was two. The other one is actually right here. It is the Nichols United Methodist Church with the Reverend Chuck Smith. Look at that design. The design of that building. That is a beautiful building. And that bell is amazing. Let's go over and take a look at this bell real quick. This bell says that it was patented in 1855 by the Jones and Company founders up in Troy, New York in 1868. Very beautiful steel finish. Pretty sure that it doesn't ring anymore. If it does, it probably, I can't ring and I'm not that strong. But it's nice. What is it? The foundation block on the corner says 1926. So this church is about to celebrate its centennial in about 2 years. Congratulations for it. Takes a lot for places to be around for more than for about 100 years, and obviously churches and schools and stuff like that are pretty much not much of an exception, but they are one of those few exceptions that can ace it really quickly. And speaking of ace, we actually come to another very historical building, which has since closed. I want to be careful walking in here because I don't want to get in trouble for trespassing, but this is the location of the former Nichols True Value Hardware. Now, for those of you who have been listening to me talk about my personal life, know that I currently work at Home Central. And this location was actually one of the first Home Centrals when the company came into business in 1953. And this location closed, I believe it was back in the early 2000s, like 2007, 8, or 9. And fun fact, one of the employees that I work with at Home Central actually used to work here, and then she got the job in Owego. So, significant piece of history for you. See if I can cross the street over here without getting ran over. Over here, we actually have 3. 2 are still in business. I guess you could call them diners. I believe they are diners. One is known as, which I have been told about quite frequently. Still have yet to put this on my to-do list. Don't think it would ever happen just because of the fact that the days that they are open, I am working, except for Tuesday. So if I can ever get Ash to have a day off, maybe I'll bring her out here to this little place. Like I said, I believe they're a diner, but I'm not sure. By their hours, I'm guessing they are, but who knows. Over here next to it, I'm not sure what this place was. See if I can peek in the window. This looks like an old store of some kind, but can't really see inside as to what it used to be. As I said, it kind of looks like a storefront. So maybe it was another like little grocery store or something in the area. Which is pretty cool. I like old grocery stores. Being, I actually hope this is going to be preserved for something, but I guess we'll see. Over here we have Sally's Country Kitchen, the other diner that I have heard a lot about. And this particular diner, again, I don't know if I'd ever get out here to it, but it looks like their hours on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday are 8 to 8. They're only cash, which I wouldn't say is a problem for me. It's just I don't really carry cash on me, just because of the fact that I've never liked to. They have a help wanted sign for a server. But they are also open on Sundays 8 to 2, which I work that day also. So again, if I could get the chance and I happen to be in the area or just want to go try something out, I've actually been told quite a few things about this place, so I'm definitely going to put it on my to-do list of places that I'd like to check out. Let's see, which way do we want to go? We are going to go back across the street, and we're going to talk about a couple of the we're going to talk about these two places. We're going to go a little bit down the road, and then we're going to circle up and around and talk about those places in the area. So over here, we have what looks like an old insurance agency, Pressure Insurance and Tri-Town Agency. Doesn't look like it has any activity in there. It actually looks like a very, very empty building, with a bunch of hardware in it, which is a pretty depressing shame, just because, you know, I would like them to do something with it, you know, preserve the history, maybe bring a little bit more attention to the area, and you know, keep alive a tradition. It's a pretty neat car. We're actually going to take a trip down. We're going to walk along the road here. Show you a couple of these places, and then we're going to circle around and try to head down the road before I start to get tired. I want to show you another. This is the Caddy Block, the former site, built 1844 by George P. Casing. It had stores, doctor's offices, apartments, and the town hall, and it was raised in 1998. I was 6 years old when this was demolished. As you've seen, was built by George P. Caddy, who was one of the beneficiaries to the village of Nichols, and we are actually going to very shortly, spoiler alert, get to his mansion that lies across the street. Over here, we have the village sign showing the temperature and the time. We also have the local bank in the area, the community bank. Never been here, probably for a good reason. And another very historic piece in the village of Nichols. The foundation block here says Geo M. Caddy, which is George M. Caddy Town Hall, built in 1901. And then if we walk over here, we could show you guys the inside of the bank. Like I said, I do not have a community bank account, just because I already have, you know, I have one bank actually that I've been with for several years, and I plan on keeping it that way. We have another historical marker. This is the town hall. George M. Caddy, built in 1901, used for dances, movies, sports, and meetings. In 1949, the Nichols National Bank bought the building. So there used to be another bank out here called the Nichols National Bank, and this is the remnants of their bank. Now I'm gonna try and go back a little bit and show you guys this exquisite historic piece. Up there you have the probably one of the meeting areas, and of course you got the amazing foundation, brick facing, beautiful building, beautiful. To the side here we have a Verizon office. Not sure why they have one of those out here or what it's for. I'm pretty sure it has something to do with all these phone lines. In the back there is the garage, which I believe is no longer in use. I'm pretty sure the Caddy family owned that garage, and after they passed away, I'm not sure what became of the garage. I'm pretty sure somebody in the area owns it, but that information is not known to me. Probably for a good, but eventually I will, figure it out and be fascinated by it, just like everything else. So we're actually going to go across the street here, and we are going to talk about two very historic, pretty much the epitome of historic monuments in the area, the village. The first of which is the Nichols Historical Society, which is the, I guess you could say they're a branch of the Tioga County Historical Society. I have yet to go there. One of these days I will find out their hours and make a special trip up here just so I could go in there and immerse myself in all of the history of the village of Nichols. But that is on another to-do list. Over here, now this is very, very interesting. You guys see this fence? Well, this building, the Nichols Historical Society, is actually partly owned by this amazing relic. And I call it that because this relic is not just any relic. This relic is the very historic Caddy Mansion. Now, this, as I mentioned earlier, was the home of George P. and his wife Susan Platt Caddy. And it says it was built in 1828 by Nehemiah Platt. It became the Caddy Library in 1941, and in 1976 it was listed on the Historical Register, or National Register of Historic Places. Now, when the Caddy family passed away, they left in their will that they wanted to leave their mansion as a library. And this is another place. I mean, obviously with the Nichols Historical Society literally right there, I plan on putting both of them on the list at the same time. But there's actually a sign right over there. I'll read it for you guys. It says, George P. and Susan Platt Caddy Library, originally constructed in 1828, donated to the town of Nichols in 1941, listed on the National Register of Historic Places 1976. Look at this. Whoa, I almost stepped on something. We try to do this without getting ran over. Look at this beautiful, beautiful relic. You've got the marble pillars that are still standing over 100 and some odd years. You have, well, actually, no, it was built in almost 200 years. It was originally constructed in 1828. So 4 years from now, it'll be 200 years old. But it looks phenomenal. And you know that the town of Nichols and the village of Nichols has taken every step that they can to preserve this absolutely beautiful piece of history. And I will say Not that anybody of the town of Nichols or the village will ever know, but I will say job well done, because you have done amazing and you have preserved a piece of history for people such as myself to continue to enjoy even 200 years after its construction. And for that, I say thank you. Moving farther down River Road, which is the area that this is known as, we come to Shelley's Redemption Center. Yes, the village of Nichols has a redemption center. And I find it very, very weird but not really. But they also have a little convenience store, which for the life of me, I have never seen open. And I wonder if, guessing that the person that owns this also owns that. It would be really nice to know that. But, you know, not everybody can be a winner. I mean, in itself, look at it. It's pretty much a barn, or at least I believe it used to be at one point. It's just amazing, you know, that they've been able to keep this place looking so fascinating for so long. Down here, another very unique piece of the village is Bee's Tavern, the local bar. Yes, Nichols has a bar. Congratulations. Because I'm not much of a drinker, never been in there, I will say that having a bar in a place so small it's unique. Gives it its own little flair, and also gives it a, you know, it gives it its stamp on, guess what, we got a bar. I will be honest with you, this area I haven't ever been to. So being down here is fascinating, and I just realized that Nichols also has a train station, an old train station. I'm not sure what this place is, and I find it ironic that the name of this place is The Station. I'm pretty sure it might be another bar, but it's a train station. And if you walk over here, I'm pretty sure you're gonna find a lot of train related you know, things back here. Looking on the ground, I don't really see anything, but then again, you never know, they could have dug it up. I mean, look at this. This definitely looks like an old train station. Another thing that I'm gonna have to, another reason I should say, that I'm gonna have to get over to the the museum or the historical society and check out. There's an open window down there, but we're not gonna go in there, obviously, because I'm not looking to get arrested. This is awesome, you know? And then, of course, you got an old silo, I think, or like a barn type silo. Not sure what it used to be. Again, another thing that I should definitely look into with coming up to the historical society. But obviously there's a big sign posted on there that says keep out, so must be something important, or maybe was something important. Just like this building right here looks like something important too. Maybe an old convenience store or an office of some kind at one point. I'm getting tired. Not sure how much longer I'm going to be able to do this video. I mean, we're already at an hour, which, you know, it's kind of exhausting being out in the heat. Even if we don't get to everything in this video, I do have one place that I want to show you guys, or at least a couple places more that I want to show you guys. I'm not sure how I calculated this right, but I mentioned in the beginning of the video that there are 7 historical sites in the village of Nichols, and believe it or not, all 7 sites I've pretty much covered. The next 2 places that I'm going to tell you about before I head back to the car and then we move on to our next location are actually the final 2. This building right behind me, it says Dad's Ice Cream, but it has more history in it than meets the eye. Standing in front of me is the historical marker for the Nichols Hotel. And it says, former site, built in 1882, also known as Commercial Hotel and Elm Tree Inn, operated over a century and was destroyed by fire in 1980, before I was even born. Now, if you look at this area, you do not see a hotel here. And what I'm guessing is that after the hotel burnt down in 1980, they decided, well, we can do something with this. So let's give them an ice cream stand. And they built it. And it ran for about, I think it was about 60 years. And I'm pretty sure it closed within the last 2. Because the last time I was out here, I actually bought ice cream here. And then the last time I came out here to do something, it was up for sale. And last but not least, even though I said that we had a little bit more to cover, I'm starting to get tired, so we are actually going to do one more historical monument, and then I'm going to head back to my car and take you to the last location in Nichols. Although this location is not in the village of Nichols, but it is the staple of the town of Nichols. And that is the Barstow House. First, I will show you the house itself. Even after 101 years is still standing. This is now a restaurant. And you see the sign over here, it says Barstow House, Old World Cuisine, Italian and American Foods. And then you have the historical marker, the Barstow House, built in 1823 by Dr. Gamaliel Barstow. He was a judge, a state assemblyman, state senate, state treasurer, and a doctor. It's basically Nichols's doctor back in the 1800s. And I'm guessing that this barn back here that we briefly saw in the front was his barn. This is his old house that he lived in when he was alive. Obviously, he's not alive anymore because he'd be very, very old. But he lived here. And again, I say thank you so much to the town of Nichols and the New York State government and the National Society of Historic Preservation for keeping this area, or this relic, in its prominence for people like me for so many years. Last but not least, I know I said that the Barstow House was the last thing, but I want to show you guys across the street here is the very small Veterans Memorial Park. It was established in 2019 for the veterans in the area. It's not much of a park. Obviously, there's no playground. There's no like swings or anything special like that. It's literally just a shaded area with a couple benches, a veterans marker, and a flag that was dedicated to the veterans, as I said, of the area. And it is just beautiful. For the village to take a seemingly empty lot and do that for the men and women that served this country, my hat goes off to you, because again, we thank you for your support. Being as I am from a family that had several members in the armed forces, yes, I am the nephew and a grandson of a couple veterans myself. This means a lot to me, because wherever you can go and you see veterans being honored for their service, it means a lot. So as we head back down River Road, and we head back to the car, I want to elaborate a little bit more to you guys, just because of the fact that we didn't really get the chance to go all the way down River Road. To cover everything that it has to offer. Now, the village of Nichols, as I mentioned, is very, very small. And once you cross, literally and figuratively, once you cross the line, you're no longer in the village of Nichols, you're in the town of Nichols. And going back down this road that I'm going to travel down very shortly, you see other things that are important to the area, such as the Dandy. Obviously, there's the post office. There's a couple more houses. If you drive very slow enough, you can actually see the golf course from the road. And it's just a fascinating piece, just because of the sheer amount of history, the sheer amount of preservation of said history is phenomenal. And it just goes to show you that something so small can hold a really big impact. So I'm actually going to pause this video for a couple minutes. I'm gonna get myself back to my car, go for a little bit of a drive, and then we are going to show you the final area of interest that lies in Nichols. You know what? I actually forgot something. While I'm walking back to my car, I want to do a little thing for you guys. I want to talk about the next area. Not the next area on the video. No, we ain't gonna do that. No spoilers today. But I actually want to talk about the neighboring area to the village of Nichols. It's an area known as Lounsbury, and it is it's recognized as a community designated place, and it's pretty much got nothing in it. It's kind of farmlands, I guess you could say, and its only significance to even the state of New York is the fact that it is the location of the Best Buy warehouse, the Crown Factory, there's an Armed Forces Center. I think it's an Army or it's an Army Reserve Center. There's also a FedEx warehouse out there. There is obviously the gas station, the Anvo, and Burger King, the truck stop. That's there, which the gas station is open 24/7. The Burger King is only open till 11, which is convenient. You know, you got truck drivers driving through the area. It's convenient for them because, you know, you can stop there 2 o'clock in the morning, get yourself some food. You can take a shower. You can sleep in your truck because they allow it in the parking lot. You know, they actually have a cemetery down the ways. Apparently Lounsbury used to actually be part of the town. I mean, it is part of the town of Nichols, but it actually used to be, I think it used to be part of the village of Nichols, and then they decided to split the two and, you know, name them their separate entity. I haven't gone through Lounsbury in a very long, well, I can't say a very long time, but I haven't gone there since I left Burger King. Just because of my disdain for Burger King. I try to avoid the area just because of personal reasons. And I know that there are a couple areas down near the Burger King that are labeled as historic markers. A few of them actually talk about the history of Lounsbury, and I believe Lounsbury used to have a different name, something Grove or something like that. And then there was actually a person in the area that basically settled there, and they decided to name the area after him. So we've made it back to the car. I'm going to take a drive, and we are going to go to our final destination, and then we are going to end our video. All right, guys, we're back. Now, before I start talking to you about the location that I am at, the grand finale of Nichols, I want to give you guys a little bit of a personal story. When somebody tells you that they have when somebody either tells you that they or you have an addiction is something that you have to do on a regular basis, to the point that it is harmful for your mental, physical, and financial health. I have never, ever, ever, ever in my life had anybody tell me that I am addicted to anything. And even if I did, I proved them wrong. Because as I mentioned, an addiction is something you can't stop. Everything that I may or may not have an addiction to, which I definitely don't, I can stop at any time. With that being said, there's a lot of people out there in the world that have a gambling addiction. They literally get money, or they fall for money schemes, and they just gamble till they have no money. It's more prevalent in, I'm just going to come out and say it, people on disability, people on Social Security, people who are older, people who don't really, have responsibilities with their money. Me, I've never been addicted to gambling. I used to play, but it was only because my uncle would buy me lotto tickets, and maybe I'd buy them occasionally, but I could always say that I didn't need, any kind of gambling, whether it be lotto tickets or even going somewhere that we'll get to in a second. Now, with that being said, when I realized, obviously growing up, I heard all the commercials about this place, and I said to myself for 26 years that someday I was going to go here. As soon as I got a car, and found out that I was less than 15 minutes away from this place, I got here as soon as I could. First night I came here, I didn't win anything. What place am I talking about? The amazingly beautiful, I don't know if you guys could see it. Hold on. Let me try to get out of the car. The amazingly beautiful Tioga Downs Casino. Now, this place holds a lot of significance for me for two different reasons. As I mentioned, the story that I just told you, I do not have a gambling addiction. I only come here when I know that I have money that I could risk to lose. Which hasn't been often, because I've been doing other stuff with my life and actually living a life. However, there is more to this place than just the casino, as beautiful as the casino is. Obviously, there's a hotel, there's an event center, a spa, there's an arcade, there's a weight room, there's a swimming pool, there are the 3 restaurants that are inside, PJ Clark's, Coaster Sports Bar, there's the Chinese, there's the buffet place that's in there. I think it's still in there. They just opened a Chinese place, and it's just exquisite. You come to the casino, 9 times out of 10, you're gambling. But what else can you do here? They even got a Dunkin' in here. Why would you pass that up? Why would you pass that up? I wouldn't pass that up. As a matter of fact, there have been a couple occasions where I came out here not even to go to the casino. I've come out here to go to Coaster Sports Bar just to get a burger or, you know, something to drink. Obviously not alcohol because I don't drink, but, you know, just to get some food and just hang out and relax. And Ash and I actually have a plan coming up. Eventually, we're gonna get a hotel room here and, you know, just spend a weekend here whenever we can afford it. But, you know, this place is beautiful. So beautiful is it that I've almost gotten a job 3 times here. I almost got a job working in the casino as a cage cashier. I almost got a job working in the hotel as a front desk person, and I almost got a job working in the hotel as a cleaning person. Unfortunately, I had to turn down all 3 jobs because I can't work Sundays. Now I can, but once Damien comes home from school, I can't work Sundays because Ash works 7 to 7, and, you know, I have to work my other job 9 to 3. So, but look at this place. Look at it. It is phenomenally beautiful. Just everything about it is beautiful. Back in the 2000s, there was actually a plan to expand the casino, and for whatever reason, New York State shot it down and said you didn't need to do it. I wish they had, because, you know, this place is pretty much a staple of New York State. Being as it's so close to the border of New York and Pennsylvania, it's the only casino that New York has. Well, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. It is the only casino that the Southern Tier has, because all the other casinos are up north. You got Vernon Downs, you got Turning Stone, you got all those up there. But those aren't here. Being as I live in Owego, like I said, it's a 15-minute drive from my house to Tioga Downs. You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, I think I've made this video quite long enough, and I am very tired, and I have to go down to Vestal to pick up my fiance and go finish the rest of our night. So I am going to say thank you for joining me on this trip to the pond, and I will see you on the next one.